In June 2026, Birkenstock saw its web traffic spike by nearly 30% in a single month. Shoppers were flooding the site, driven in part by the viral ballet core trend and a highly anticipated collaboration with the heritage French brand Repetto. That online hype translated directly into physical sales. In the Asia-Pacific region alone, the company posted a massive 30% revenue surge. But behind those record sales figures, the financials were telling a completely different story. The company's stock price recently plummeted to $32 a share, forcing management to initiate a $250 million emergency buyback to stop the bleeding. So, how exactly does a footwear brand experiencing peak global demand and record retail expansion simultaneously trigger a collapse in its own profit margins? The answer reveals that consumer engagement and viral fashion trends offer zero protection against the hard physics of global supply chains. To understand the crash, we have to look at how Birkenstock positioned itself before going public. They spent years meticulously rebranding from a manufacturer of basic, comfortable sandals into a premium luxury asset. They set up a specialized 1774 projects unit in Paris to design limited edition capsules. By partnering with high-end houses like Dior and Repetto, Birkenstock used these scarce luxury products to cast a halo of prestige over their everyday inventory. The strategy worked on consumers, and the metrics convinced investors. The company was consistently selling more than 90% of its inventory at full retail price, a metric almost unheard of in standard apparel. Wall Street rewarded this performance by treating the company like a true European fashion house. Investors eagerly assigned Birkenstock the high valuation multiples usually reserved for legacy luxury brands. By successfully marketing this luxury profile, management pushed their market cap to extreme heights. But applying a software-like luxury multiple to a physical manufacturing business meant the eventual collision with real-world economics was going to hurt. The fatal flaw in that luxury valuation is baked right into the shoes themselves. A core part of the Birkenstock identity is its strict requirement that every product is manufactured entirely inside the European Union. That rigid commitment to European production meant the company could not outsource manufacturing to cheaper regions when U.S. trade policy shifted. Because the United States accounts for more than half of Birkenstock sales, new trade rules hit the company directly. The U.S. import tariffs on their European-made footwear spiked from a baseline of 10% to over 20%. When institutional investors saw those import taxes eating into the company's profitability, they initiated a process called multiple compression. They rapidly sold off the stock, stripping away the luxury premium, and repricing the company as a standard manufacturer. In a globalized economy, refusing to offshore your production might build brand authenticity, but it functions as a heavy, inescapable tax on your operating margins. This waterfall chart breaks down the margin damage. Starting at a 57.7% baseline, the first major drop is driven by currency fluctuations, losing 230 basis points. Next, U.S. import tariffs shave off another 90 basis points, dragging margins down to 54.6%. That shrinking profitability is especially dangerous because of the company's balance sheet. Birkenstock is currently carrying roughly 1.7 billion euros in pro forma debt, which demands high interest payments and heavily restricts their financial flexibility. Investors dumped the stock because this math laid the reality bare. The combination of heavy debt and rigid supply chains exposed Birkenstock as a capital-intensive shoemaker rather than a borderless luxury house. To survive this margin squeeze, management has relied on a single primary tactic: selectively raising retail prices to pass those new tariff costs directly onto the consumer. But footwear is bound by the rules of price elasticity. There is a hard mathematical ceiling on what a shopper is willing to pay for a pair of cork sandals before they simply stop buying. This line chart illustrates where the first cracks in that pricing power are showing. The steeper line shows lower margin wholesale growth accelerating, while the bottom line reveals that highly profitable direct-to-consumer sales penetration actually dropped by 80 basis points. At the same time, the company's warehouses are filling up. The volume of semi-finished and finished inventory recently spiked to 844 million euros. We are already seeing the immediate consequence of holding that much excess product. Discounted core styles are beginning to leak onto off-price flash sale websites like Gilt and Rulala to clear out the backlog. The underlying consumer demand for the shoes is still highly robust. However, moving forward, the company has to be modeled strictly as a margin-constrained manufacturer fighting an uphill battle against operating costs. Ultimately, a high-end reputation and a few viral runway collaborations do not define a luxury asset. True luxury is determined by a company's structural ability to mathematically outrun international supply chain constraints.